Well, hello there, YouTube. Today's project is going to change the shifter on the TW200 to a folding shifter. Now, I got one from IMS, and this fits all kinds of bikes. It doesn't say specifically for the TW200, but it fits the Kawasaki KX60 and 80, KX250, KDX250, KX500, Yamaha YZ80, 85, YZ125, YZ250, Honda Grom, CRF 250L. So there's a bunch of bikes that take this same shifter. Now this one is part number, it's an IMS part number 313114. Now this one, in comparison, this is a fixed shifter and this one is a folding shifter. So if I hit something, hopefully it'll just bend back rather than bending the whole shift arm. So it's just a simple 10mm bolt to get this thing off of here. It doesn't take much. Excuse me, I'm going to try to stay out of the camera if I can, but I'm on my knees here. So it's just a matter of loosening this bolt up, sliding this off. Hopefully the new one will slide right on. So let's see what this looks like comparison wise. It's got more of a bend. The length is about the same, maybe a little bit longer. So I'm going to put this on here. Now I may have to I gotta get this bolt out. I may have to reposition it once I get my riding boots on. You know, when I've just been riding this thing around town in my tennis shoes, it ain't no big deal. But I haven't put a lot of miles on the bike. So let's see here if I can kind of eyeball this. Maybe right about there. Maybe up one spline. Let's anticipate the boots. Now I may have to go up even higher than that, but I won't know that until I try my boots on and see how it does. And then it's just a matter of putting this bolt back in, if I can get it started. My big head in the way. There we go. I didn't have it pushed on far enough. It was fighting me. So I'm just going to go kind of snug with this. It's just a little 10mm bolt, so you don't want to go insanely tight with it. There we go. Now once I find out if that's going to work for me or not, I'll pull that bolt out and I'll put a little blue Loctite on it. But until I'm confident it's in a good place, man, the stock shifter feels like a tinker toy compared to that one. It weighs nothing. This one is much more substantial. Yeah, and it's a little longer. So with these wider foot pegs, that's going to work out nice. Alright. So what's next on the to-do list? Well, it does give me some stickers. I've got to find a place to put some stickers. So what's next here? I think I'm going to put these mirrors on. Maybe I'll wait on those. Maybe I'll do the skid plate. That shouldn't be a real hard project. So I got the ricochet. That seems to be what everybody goes with on these for the most part. I like the way it looked, so I'm going to go with it too. I'm going to pause for a minute. Okay, so we're going to take this tinfoil like skid plate off. Only takes one 10mm bolt to get it off, and that wasn't even tight. And then it just drops right down. And I mean, this thing is, it's nothing. Looks like my oil filter cover is leaking a little oil. Now that could just be from manufacturer, I don't know. But we're gonna wipe it off. Keep an eye on it. Maybe I'll snug these bolts up a little bit. Just to keep an eye on it. Alright, so there's the old ones off. And there ain't nothing to that. Alright, so another thing it tells you to do in the instruction manual here for this skid plate is when you pull the factory skid plate off, there's a little tab underneath you gotta bend up. It says to use a rubber mallet. But I'm just going to tap it up like that. That should be sufficient. Yeah, that'll clear. Alright, so now I got to remove this lower engine bolt because some of the brackets that hold the skid plate on go through here, and then I can pre-attach a couple of bolts and the clamps, U-clamps that are going to go around the lower frame tube. I can pre-assemble that. Excuse me while I get up off the ground. But the first thing I'm going to do is they didn't do a real good job of smoothing these edges out. This is like, this will lay you right open. It's like a sawtooth. So I'm going to fire up my air compressor, get one of my die grinders out and a sanding disc, and I'm going to smooth all these edges before I put it on. Alright, so I went ahead and I sanded all these edges off. These were pretty sharp. It's obviously because this plate, I can see the marks here. It's stamped out. It's just a stamping. So when they stamp these out, they didn't take the time to smooth these edges off from the stamping. Now I went ahead and did that because I know that in the future, if I'm working on this bike, I don't want to be banging my hand up against this thing and laying myself open. Because it'll happen. So I went ahead and just went all the way around, and I'm just double checking to make sure I didn't miss anything, and that feels pretty good all the way around. Okay, so what's the next step? The next step is I'm going to prep this thing for installing it on the bike. So they give you these little U-bolts that are going to go around the frame of the bike. There's a round tube on the bottom of the frame. So these are just going to go in loose. Like I say, I'm just prepping this. And then when I go to tighten it up, it is a T40. And I got a socket on there for tightening it up. So it's a T40 torque screw to tighten these bottom bolts up. And they're nice button heads, so they shouldn't snag on stuff in case you're going over rocks or logs or whatever. Because in the future you may have to take this off to clean or whatever. So I'm just going to put these in here kind of loose for now. This one seems to have a burr on it. and it doesn't want to turn. There we go. Alright. I guess I can take this barcode sticker off of here. Maybe. Might need a razor blade. It's coming. I don't cut myself, which I'm usually pretty good at. There we go. Got that off. Probably grab a little brake clean that adhesive off of there. I can find a rag. Excuse the noise of the fan running. It's a little warm out here today in the garage, so I got the fan on. Oh yeah, brake clean takes that adhesive right off. I love that stuff. I buy it by the case usually. I use it for everything. Mechanic in a can. Alright, so what's the next one? The next one we want to prep. These are the bolts that are going to go on the front. These go through, you're going to remove a bolt that holds the engine on, and you're going to end up putting these in. So, temporarily, I'm going to put them in there just finger tight. And then I'm going to come out here and lay on the ground and get this thing set in place. Now the reason for bending that little tab up earlier is so that it clears right here. So you just kind of had to push it up out of the way just so it clears. It didn't take much. A couple little taps with a hammer and it bent right up. Alright, so let's go get set up for the other part here. Okay, so the next thing to do is take this engine bolt out, because this is where your brackets for your skid plate are going to hang. It's a 12mm on the bolt, and it's a 13mm on the nut. Now I've already cracked it loose, so it's just a matter of taking it off now. This is a self-locking nut. When I put this bolt back in, I'll put Loctite on it, blue Loctite. I'm going to go on the other side and see if I can pull that off. Alright, so Ricochet supplies you with a new bolt, obviously because it's longer. It has to be longer, so they give you a new one. So I'm going to pull this out. Now the first thing you got to do is you got to get these clamps around the frame and get it snug. Not tight, just snug. So I'll put my G40 on here, and I'm going to go around to the other side so I can lay on the ground again. I wish I had another piece of cardboard, but I don't. Or do I? No, not really. There we go. I got something. All right. Excuse me. All right, some grunting and groaning, and I'm down here. Now let's see if we can figure this out. I'll back this off a little bit. All right, that's not too bad. Let's see if I can snug this bolt up just a little bit. Stay. Once I get these kind of set in position, I'll take the camera off the tripod, bring you down here and show you what I'm doing. Kind of going by feel here because I can't really see what I'm doing. Come on, no, I can't get the torque bit in the hole. Alright, I'm going to pause this camera. This is giving me a hard time, and you don't need to be watching me struggling trying to get one stupid bolt in. Alright, so this is what I got underneath here. So this is the little tab that the original skid plate mounted on that you have to bend up. So I tapped on it, and I thought I had it up far enough, but I didn't, because when you fold this skid plate up, it was hitting. So I just took a screwdriver and got in there and I bent it up the rest of the way. So now you fold this up, of course nothing stays in place when I have the camera on. See if I can figure this out. There we go. So now I'm going to bring it up, and you just line these brackets up with the hole that mounts the engine. So now I'm going to put the bolt in, put some Loctite on, snug it up, and then come back here and tighten up the two clamps that are in the rear. So I'm going to pause. Okay, so I had to shut my GoPro off for a while. It was overheating. It was out in the sun and it doesn't like that. It's the only thing, my only complaint I have about these GoPros is it gets ungodly hot and then it just burns up the batteries. So anyway, I went ahead and I got this thing installed. As you can see, I got the bolt in the front. I got these 2 bolts in the front tightened down. And of course, see if I can show you here, the bolts underneath, those are tightened down. And you can see how, let's see if I can show you from the back, how it just kind of hooks around the frame tube on both sides there. I had to take a brass punch and drive this bolt in because it was giving me a hard time driving this bolt in from this side. I had to do it. Couldn't get in there with a hammer, obviously. Is it going to adjust? Anyway, I had to drive that in with a brass punch. But it looks a lot better. It gives much better protection, much better coverage. Wraps around the engine a little better. It's not made out of tin foil like the factory one is. Foot peg clears, or the shifter rather clears. Everything clears. So, as far as the skid plate goes, I'm going to call that a wrap and figure out what I'm going to do next.